On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel's changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel's Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Sunday morning. What's going on in our country? Well, there's nobody better to ask. With us today is Christopher Raia, and he is the co-deputy director of the entire FBI. And we got to know him well in New York when he was the assistant director in charge in New York, and he did such a great job, he got promoted. Well, Christopher Raia, how is Washington?
Well, Washington is good. Obviously, it's not as good as New York City, but we're enjoying it, making a lot of progress up there, and a lot of really good things happening inside the Beltway up there.
Well, thank you for calling in on a Sunday morning, and we'd love to hear. You know, we're going into June. There's a lot of things happening in our country. You have the new soccer tournaments. Give us the priorities of the FBI for this month.
Yeah, no, absolutely, John. You know what? I think I'd like to start, which I think is appropriate here, is really I want to kind of talk about just the historic and, quite frankly, generational reforms that our new director has put in over the last year. He sent a office-wide email out with about 70 plus reforms, major reforms, overhaul the agency. And of course, I don't have the time to go over all 70 of them, but I would like to go over just a few of them, which I think will dovetail into what we're going to be, what we really want to talk about is the FIFA World Cup coming up. But really, just to give you a flavor of these reforms, and any one of these reforms, you know, would have taken months, if not years, to do. And to do 70 of them gives you an idea of just the breadth and depth of change, positive change that we're going through. But just to name a couple, first thing he did very shortly on is he pushed about 1,200 resources out to the field from headquarters. Through the years, headquarters had got very top-heavy, and at one point we had a third of the workforce inside the Beltway there, in the National Capital Region there. Well, as you know, John, a third of the work doesn't happen inside the Beltway there, or inside the National Capital Region. So one of the first things he did was push 1,200 resources out to the field to put them where the work actually happens. The other thing, and I think we talked about it last time on our show, is he helped to establish these new Homeland Security task forces, which are really focusing on the drug cartels that have been designated by President Trump as as foreign terrorist organizations, and really a whole brand new way of taking a whole of government approach as we combat those threats, that very serious and significant threat that I know New York sees on a daily basis. And then the last one I just want to touch on, again, there were 70 of them, so 67 more I could go through, which I won't go through. But the last one, which I think will dovetail nicely into what we're going to be experiencing in the summer, is we have made a lot of space through the director's leadership, through the White House task force on drones. We've gained a lot of ground in the counter UAS or counter drone space. And I will tell you, we are much more prepared going into significant events like Sail 250, America 250, and FIFA World Cup when it comes to combating drones because of the work that we've put in. Because of the work we've put in the last year, we've done a lot of work to delegate those authorities down to the local level, and we also purchased a lot of equipment to not only detect these drones but to mitigate these drones, and we've trained officers all over the country so we can push this capability out to the 11 different cities that we're going to be that are going to be experiencing the FIFA World Cup later. In fact, I think starting today, as a matter of fact, or on Friday, as part of the game series that are kicking off.
So the FBI has the primary responsibility, because I also talked to Andrew Giuliani, who's the director of that FIFA, the football. International football, I call it. They have a lot of games around the entire country. There's, 11 or 12 cities involved. So I guess Andrew Giuliani's in charge of the operations of it. You guys, the FBI, is in charge of maintaining security in all those cities and the entire spectrum.
Yeah, I would say we work very closely with the Department of Homeland Security, our other partners in the Department of Justice, and of course with state, local, and territorial and tribal groups in the various cities. As you know better than anybody, there's not a more capable police department in the country than NYPD. So we will work very closely, specifically in New York, with our NYPD partners to secure the venues, the game, not only the venues where these teams are playing, but also the different base camp sites, the different watch parties that are going on. And so it's really a whole of government approach. We are the main intel component. The FBI is the main intel component as it relates to national security. As it relates to national security, in fact, we stood up an intelligence coordination center out of our headquarters building there in Hoover to help keep everybody on the same page and help make sure that we are pushing information out to our other federal, state, and local partners when threats come in.
Understood. And so you're primarily responsible for the safety of all those stadiums and all those cities and et cetera. But the people coming in, immigration-wise, who's responsible for them?
Yeah. So we work closely with DHS. DHS has overall responsibility for those folks, but what we do is we help DHS help identify any type of bad actors or potential bad actors that we may be tracking. And so DHS has the overall ticket when it comes to vetting these folks and ensuring these folks come in with visas, but they run every single one of those folks through our system just to make sure that we're not tracking them for some sort of a nefarious purpose. And that could be anywhere from being a member of a drug cartel to a terrorist organization to even a fraudster, right? And so if we have anybody that we're tracking that we're concerned about, we'll push that information over to DHS, and then DHS ultimately makes the ultimate call as to whether or not to let them in to the country.
Understand. Now, the other thing that I was going to ask you about is in the last 14 months since the new administration, tell us all the reforms that the FBI has done to make sure our country is safer.
Yeah, really, really historic, generational type reforms. Obviously, I don't have enough time to go over all 70 of them or nearly 70 of them that the director, along with his executive staff, myself included, the co-deputy directors have pushed out. But I will tell you, they run the gamut from pushing resources out to the field. Again, we had a third of our resources, our total FBI resources, inside the National Capital Region, inside the D.C. area. Yes, and, of course, a third of the work doesn't happen there. And so we pushed those resources out. The counter-UAS capabilities that I was just talking about, the establishment of the Homeland Security Task Force, and also the establishment, another task force that we started the establishment of what we're calling the Joint Mission Center, which was really predicated or birthed from a directive out of the President's National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, which really has us looking at these anarchist, kind of extreme left folks that are doing violent acts to our law enforcement and other federal, state, and local partners that are essentially just trying to uphold the law and order. And so we've pushed a lot of calories. We've pushed a lot of resources into that, along with Homeland Security investigations, DHS, and our other partners to really combat that, whether it's a protest that has gone violent, whether it's a protest that has prevented some of our DHS partners, namely ERO, from affecting the law. We're working closely with those folks to identify those bad actors, side of the First Amendment protections that we're all afforded here through the Constitution of the United States. But when those First Amendment actions become violent, that's when we have to get involved in uncovering those networks and really trying to keep our folks safe and executing that mission.
The last thing we want to talk about, we got a couple minutes left, is I understand the FBI has a new fraud program that they want to protect the public by.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, John. We are really going to focus this year on fraud. And we've got two really main lines of effort when it comes to fraud. We're going to make it a priority this year. And obviously, New York being the financial capital of the world, a lot of fraud. In fact, several, not million, billions of dollars of fraud, funnels through New York at some point. But we are going to really start to focus on that. And you've probably seen, you may have heard, we've actually started a fraudster most wanted list. So we've always had like most wanted terrorists. We've always had most wanted violent criminals. Of course, we've always had our top 10 list, but we've actually started a fraudster most wanted list, which we're running concurrent with the Vice President's task force on fraud, which feeds into all of this. And so,
so this is all the fraud that's going on, and whether it's California, where I've seen Dr. Oz talk about it and Lee Zeldin talk about it. I mean, the fraud going on in Minnesota, the fraud going on in Dr. Oz talked about, Medicaid, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. So you guys are deeply involved with that.
Yep, all the healthcare fraud that you've been seeing, Dr. Oz talk about, Lee Zeldin talk about, that is right up our alley, along with our partners at HHS, as well as HSI. In fact, you probably read recently we had a massive takedown in Minneapolis just last month, where we took down about 15 of these fraudsters involved in a myriad of different healthcare fraud schemes that were basically defrauding our most vulnerable population demographic out of millions of dollars, and taking these state-run, sometimes federally funded programs and using the proceeds from that as their own ATM machines, instead of using that money for people who actually need it. And the thing I'll touch on that, which was interesting, is those types of complex cases normally take months, if not years, to complete. And based on the amount of energy and the amount of resources we're pushing in that, we were able to complete that massive takedown in Minneapolis in about 4 months, which is record time for that type of case.
Understood. Well, Christopher Raia, thank you for everything you do to save our country, help our country, and the FBI is the best law enforcement agency in the world, and thank you for what you do.
All right, I appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me, and always enjoy coming on your show.
Thank you.